Today in class we talked about how we can use graphs to represent and interpret data. So today we're just going to do a quick review of those graphs, and our first graph is called a line plot. And on the line plot, the numbers at the bottom represent the number of things being surveyed, and in this case it's going to be number of candy bars. The X's on the line plot represent the number of students, and each X only represents one student. So now that we know that, we can interpret this graph. We can ask questions like, how many candy bars did students sell the most of? And we can look at 5, and we know that they have 1, 2, 3, 4 X's, so that was the most amount sold. We can also ask, how many students sold 6 candy bars? And we count them and we see that there are 2. How many students sold 4 candy bars? And we see that there's no X, so it's 0. Our next graph we're going to talk about is a picture graph. And again, on the bottom we mark what we are being surveyed, and so this one asks how we get to school. So they ask, do you walk, do you bike, do you take a car, or do you take a bus? And on the left hand side it's the amount of kids that were surveyed. And each time that one person does something, you can just draw a quick little picture to represent it. So we know that 3 children walk, so they have children walking, 2 bikes, 1 car, and 6 buses. So this is a fun way to plot your information and data by drawing pictures, and we also can interpret it by asking, what was the biggest amount of transportation used? And we know that it's the bus because there's 6 buses. What's the least amount of transportation used? And we know that's the car because there's 1. And our final graph that we learned about today is called the bar graph. Again, the bottom shows what is being surveyed, and the side shows the number of people who were asked. And this time we just represent the data by drawing a bar up into the number that said that answer. So for apple, 35 people thought it was the nicest fruit, so we draw a bar all the way up to the 35. And so we can ask and interpret different things about this survey by saying, what's the least nice fruit? And we know that it's grapes because it's low at the 5 mark. What was the nicest fruit? We can look and we know that it's the blueberry because it goes all the way up to the 40. So hopefully that gave you a better idea how we can interpret and represent data using graphs.